Hello everyone, this is part 2 of how to make a Google Chrome Dinosaur Endless Runner game in Scratch. In this video, I'll be finishing up the game by adding a game over screen, restart button, moving clouds, and score and high score counter. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, check it out, link is in the description below. Anyways, let's get started. So right now, we have our dinosaur, cactus, and ground sprites, but currently, once we touch a cactus, the game just simply stops. But I want to add some game over text in the middle of the screen. So to do so, let's go inside of our game over sprite. And it's really simple. All we have to do is to go inside of events and drag a when I receive game over. Then let's go to looks and show the sprite and drag a go to front layer. And lastly, let's go to motion and make sure to drag a go to X 0 and Y 0. All right, and let's also make sure to grab a when flag clicked, then let's hide the sprite. All right, so now if we try it out, then if the dinosaur touches the cactus, then the game over text appears. Okay, so now I also want to add the retry button in the screen once the game is over and make the player be able to restart the game. So to do so, let's go inside of the retry button sprite. And I'm just gonna first drag a when flag clicked, then I'm gonna hide the sprite. And then back inside of events, I'm gonna drag a when I receive game over. Then I'm gonna show the retry button. And I'll also drag a go to front layer. And I'm gonna go to motion and drag a go to XY block. And let's just make the button appear on the screen right now. So it's somewhere over here. So I think that's a pretty good position, which is X 0 and Y negative 30. But I want to move the game over text up a bit. So let's go inside of the game over sprite, and I'll change the Y position to, let's say, 30. All right, I think that looks a bit better. And let's go back inside of the retry button sprite, and then I'm gonna add the code for when we click on the button. So let's go inside of control and drag a forever loop. And we wanna check if touching the mouse pointer, and if the mouse is down, and let's drag this back inside of the if, then we want to restart the game. So let's go inside of events, and we have to broadcast a new message. So I'll create a new one, and I'll call this one start game, and then click OK. All right, and we'll work on this later, but first off, we have to finish up the button code. So we also want to make sure that the button is only registered once. So let's go to control and drag a wait until and put it right after the if touching mouse pointer and mouse down. And let's go to operators and drag a not. And then we can right click and duplicate this part right here. And so we're checking until we release the mouse button and then we run this code. So after this wait until, we also have to make sure to set game over to no. So let's drag a set game over and set it to no. And make sure to put it right before the start game. And then lastly, we want to stop this script. So let's go to control and drag a stop all and change this to stop this script. All right, so now if we try it out, then if we lose the game, then as you can see, we have the game over text and a retry button. However, right now it does nothing, and that's because nothing is receiving this start game message. So we want everything to reset and also hide the game over and reset button sprites. So first off, inside of our same retry button sprite, let's go to events and drag a when I receive start game. Then let's make sure to hide the sprite. So we can actually drag this hide from the when flag clicked into the start game message. And then we can simply take out the when flag clicked. And what I'm gonna do is that I'm actually going to broadcast start game under the when flag clicked inside of the stage. So I'm gonna go inside of the stage, and under this when flag clicked, I'm going to broadcast start game. And now I can replace pretty much all of the when flag clicks inside of my other sprites with a when I receive start game. So I'm going to go inside of my game over sprite, and instead of this when flag clicked, I'm going to change it to when I receive start game. And inside of my dinosaur sprite, I'm going to replace these ones with when I receive start game. Okay. And then inside of the cactus sprite, same thing. So when I receive start game. All right, and lastly, inside of the ground sprite, I'm going to replace the when flag clicked with a start game. All right, so now if we click on the retry button, then the game over and button sprites should hide, and all of the other sprites should restart its scripts. So let's try it out. So once the game is over, and once we click on the button, then okay, so not everything seems to work. And that's because the dinosaur touched a cactus when the game was over. However, when the game restarted, this code immediately ran, which checked if it was touching a cactus. And when we just restart, the dinosaur is still touching the cactus sprite, so it would immediately broadcast game over once again. So to prevent this code from immediately running, let's just simply add a wait and change this to a really small number. So let's say 0.01 seconds. And that provides enough buffer for all of the other code inside of the cactus to restart before the dinosaur checks if it's touching a cactus. However, one more thing I have to do is that inside of the cactus sprite, we have to make sure to delete the cactus clones when the game restarts, because otherwise the clones would still stay on the screen. So to fix this, we can just simply add a when receive, start game, then I'll just simply delete this clone. All right, and I'll also do the same thing for the ground sprite. So I'm going to drag a when receive, start game, then I'll delete this clone. All right, so now if we try it out, then once we lose and restart, then okay, cool. So everything reset. As you can see, the cactus and ground are now working perfectly fine as normal. However, as you can see, the dinosaur is not doing its walk animation. So let's go inside of the dinosaur sprite, and I forgot to replace this when flag clicked with a when receive, start game. So let's do that. And now everything should be fine. So let's try it out and restart. And okay, cool. So now as you can see, the game restarted and everything is back to normal. All right, and as you can see, we can restart multiple times. Okay, so now I want to improve the game a bit by adding some background clouds, because right now the sky over here is looking sort of blank. So to do so, let's go inside of our cloud sprite, and I'm going to go inside of events and drag a when flag clicked. Then let's go to looks and let's hide the original sprite, and let's create clones of the clouds. So let's go to events again and drag a when receive, start game. Then I'll drag a forever loop and create clone of myself. And I'll create a clone every, let's say, 8 seconds. And when a clone is created, so let's drag a when I start as a clone. Then let's go to looks and show it. And let's make the clouds start from the right side of the screen and make it move to the left. So let's go to motion and let's drag a go to XY. And let's go to X, let's say 260. And Y, let's do pick random somewhere over here to somewhere over here. So I want the clouds to spawn around this area. So let's go to operators and drag a pick random to and put this inside of the Y. And I'll just do pick random, let's say -30, which is over here, to +140, which is around here. All right, and then after that, let's make them move from the right side to the left side. So let's go to control and drag a repeat until. And let's repeat until the X position. So go to motion, drag X position is less than the left side of the screen. So that's -240, but we also want to make sure the entire cloud sprite is out of the screen. So let's do -270. And then inside of the repeat until, let's drag a change X by, let's say, -1. And just like what we did inside of the cactus sprite, let's do the size trick. So let's go to looks and drag a set size to before the change X and make it something large like 150. And then right after, let's set size to its original size, which was 50. And lastly, let's go to control and delete the clone once it reaches the left side of the screen. Okay, and now we also want to make sure to stop all of the scripts when the game is over. So let's drag a when receive, game over. Then let's stop other scripts in sprite. And we also want to drag a when receive, start game. Then we want to make sure that any existing clones are deleted. So let's drag a delete this clone. And one thing is that we want to make sure that this code runs after all the clones are deleted. So let's drag a wait 1 second. And let's change this to something like 0.01 seconds. All right, so now everything should be fine. So if we try it out, then as you can see, there are some clouds. And one cloud should spawn every 8 seconds, and the clouds should disappear once they reach the edge of the screen. As you can see, they smoothly disappear. Okay, cool. And if we retry the game, then the clouds still work as normal. And now the last thing I want to add is a score and high score counter on the top left part of the screen. So let's go inside of our score sprite. And first off, we have to create some new variables. So let's go inside of variables and create a new one. I'll call this one score, and then click OK. And let's create one called high score and click OK. And let's also create one called score digit, and then make sure to select for the sprite only. And lastly, let's create one called high score digit, and then also select for the sprite only. All right, and now let's go inside of events and drag a when flag clicked. Then I want to set high score to 0, and also score to 0, and high score digit to 0, and score digit to 0. So if we go inside of our costumes for the sprite, as you can see, we have the numbers 1 through 9 and then 0, and we also have the high score letters. So pretty much we're going to create clones of each digit representing our score and high score variables, and then we're going to show and hide them and also switch to the correct costumes based off of the variable number. So let's go back inside of the code, and I'm going to create a new custom block. I'll call this create digits. And then let's make sure to select run without screen refresh, so that makes all of the code run all at once under this block. Okay, and then under this when flag clicked, let's drag our create digits, and inside of our custom block, let's start doing the code for creating our digit clones. So first off, let's go inside of looks, and let's switch costume to costume 0. All right, and let's first create our score digits. So let's go inside of control and drag a repeat. And I'm just going to have this have a maximum of 5 digits, but if you want larger numbers, you can type in more inside of this loop. But let's go to variables, and let's drag a change score digit by 1, and also let's create a clone of myself, and then let's drag a when I start as a clone. Then let's first set the size to a smaller percent, let's say 50%, and after that, let's drag a forever loop and drag an if else. And we only want the correct number of digits to appear based off the number of digits inside of the score variable. So let's go to operators and drag a not, and drag a greater than, and check if the score digit is greater than the score variable. But then let's go to operators and drag a length of operator, and drag the score inside of the length of, and drag this on the right side. All right, so for the clones with score digit that is lesser than or equal to the length of the score variable, then we want them to show. And let's go to motion and drag a go to XY block. And for our Y, I'll put it at 160. And for the score variables, I want them to be on the top left of the screen. So let's go to operators, and I'm going to drag a multiplication operator, and I'm going to go inside of variables and drag the score digit variable on the right side and multiply by the spacing between each digit. So in this case, I'll put in something like 15. And then let's go back inside of operators, and I'm going to drag the minus operator and put this on the left side, and then minus something like 235. All right, so now we show and set the position of the digits. And lastly, I want them to switch to the correct costume. So let's go inside of looks and drag a switch costume to, and let's go to operators and drag the letter 1 of operator, put this inside of the switch costume to, and switch costume to letter score digit of score. All right, and lastly, inside of the else, I'm just going to simply hide the digit. Okay, so if I hide all of the variables except for the score variable, and I try setting the score to something like, let's say, 567, and try it out, then, as you can see, we have our score sprite that displays exactly our score variable. Okay, cool. So now we want to go inside of our stage, and I'm just going to drag a forever loop and always increase our score by 1 when the game is playing. So first off, let's drag an if and check if game over is equal to no. So if we're in the game, then we always want to change score by 1. And let's go to control, and then I'll drag a wait 0.1 seconds. All right, and now one more thing. Inside of our retry button, we want to make sure to reset our score to 0 when we restart the game. Okay, so now our score should be working, so we can hide our score variable and try it out. Okay, as you can see, we have an increasing score, and once the game stops, then our score also stops, and once we restart, then our score resets. Okay, cool. So now I want to add in our high score counter, and that's only going to appear after we play the game for the first time, and it's going to match our current score if the current score is higher than our high score. So inside of our score sprite, inside of the create digits block, let's right click and duplicate this repeat 5. And instead of score digit, let's do high score digit. And I have to create one more new variable. Let's call this is high score digit clones. And then make sure to select for this sprite only and click OK. And I want to set is high score digit clones to no before we create our normal score clones, and set it to yes before we create our high score digit clones. Okay, and now inside of the when I start as a clone, I'm going to drag one more if else and put this inside of the else. So this is for our normal score clones. And inside of the if, I want to check if high score digit clones is equal to yes. That means we want to display the high score clones. So I'm going to right click and duplicate this if else and put it inside of the if. And instead of score digit, let's do high score digit. So I'm just right clicking this variable. All right, change these to high score digit. And instead of length of score, let's change this to length of high score. Okay, and one more thing. I want to move the high score digits lower than the current score digits. So instead of Y160, I'll do Y130. All right, and one more thing is that I also want to include this high score text. So we have to change this to something like -195 just to leave some room. And we also have to create a clone for our high score text. So inside of the create digits custom block, at the very end, let's go to looks and switch costume to our high score text, and then create a clone of myself. All right, and then under the when I start as a clone, I'm going to add one more if else and put all of this inside of the else. And inside of the if, I want to check if, let's go to looks, the costume name is equal to high. Then let's grab one more if else inside of the if, and we only want the high score to appear after we've played for the first time. So we have to create a new variable, and I'll call this first time playing, and then keep for all sprites and click OK. All right, so we want to check if first time playing is equal to no. That means it's not our first time playing. Then we want to show the high score text, else we want to hide it. And let's go to motion and go to X, let's say -215 and Y 130, which is the same Y position as our high score number. Okay, and I'm going to put this inside of the if. And lastly, I also only want to show the high score number if it's not my first time playing. So let's go to operators and then drag an and I want to right click and duplicate this code right here. and put this not on the left side, and then drag this entire and back inside of the if. So now the high score text and the high score number should appear after we play for the first time. And lastly, I'm going to go inside of the retry button, and we have to make sure to set first time playing to no once we restart the game, and also set it to yes inside of the stage. And now we can try everything out. So once we play, then we have our score counter, and if we lose the game and restart, then as you can see, we have our high score. Okay, cool. However, as you can see, our high score did not copy our current score, so we have to go inside of our score sprite, and we have to drag a win and receive game over, and check if the score is greater than the high score. Then we want to set our high score to score. Okay, so now if we try it out, then if we lose and restart, then as you can see, our high score copies our score. All right, awesome. And if we get a higher score, then our high score copies the higher score. And if we get a lower score, then it doesn't copy it. And now we have our score and high score counters both fully working, and we have our completed game. Okay, so now I'm at the main project page, and I'm just going to do some gameplay. So as you can see, we have a dinosaur and cactus and some clouds in the background with our scrolling ground. Okay, and we also have our score counter on the top left of the screen. All right, and I'm just going to try running into a cactus. Okay, we have our game over screen with a retry button. And if we restart, then we have our high score that appears. Okay, let's try to beat that. All right, beat our high score, and our high score adjusts accordingly, and everything is working perfectly. All right, cool. Anyways, that's it for this tutorial and for this entire series. If you enjoyed it, then give it a thumbs up and subscribe too, if you haven't already. By the way, this project is shared on my Scratch profile, link is in the description below. Also, let me know in the comments below what tutorial series you want to see next. Anyways, that's it for this tutorial. See ya!